We all know the biblical myth of Adam and Eve, a story that speaks of our creation and the relationship between God and humanity. But what if there was another woman before Eve, one called Lilith? Who was she, and what symbolism hides behind her story? Let's explore that together. According to Abrahamic religions, God created Adam, the first human, from clay and breathed life into him. The Lord God formed the man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. But for Adam, no suitable helper was found. So the Lord caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep, and while he slept, God took one of his ribs and fashioned it into a woman. He brought her to Adam, and the man said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man." Yet doesn't it seem odd and somewhat illogical that God created all living beings in pairs, male and female, except for Adam, who was made alone? Deep within Jewish mythology lies a different tale, one of a woman who defied convention and embraced her own desires and independence. Her name was Lilith, Adam's first wife. From demonized to feminist icon, Lilith has been interpreted in countless ways, making her one of the most enigmatic and intriguing figures in folklore. Who was she, and how did she gain her notoriety? The origin of Lilith. While Lilith is not mentioned in the Torah, the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, she appears in Jewish folklore as Adam's original wife. Her story may have been developed as an attempt to reconcile the 2 different creation accounts found in Genesis. After leaving Adam, Lilith is portrayed as a spirit or demon who preys on infants, women in childbirth, and men who wander alone at night. She becomes associated with desire, independence, and rebellion against male authority. But was she really a demon, or is there more to her story? Lilith's origin remains debated among scholars. Some believe she was influenced by Sumerian legends about female vampires. In ancient Mesopotamian and Babylonian cultures, she appears as a spirit or demon linked to storms and wind. In Sumerian mythology, she was known as Lilu, a type of demon that preyed on babies and pregnant women. She was often depicted as a winged female figure associated with impurity and uncleanliness, a cautionary tale against disobedience and rebellion. However, in Babylonian mythology, Lilith is also connected to the goddess Ishtar and may have served as her handmaiden. She became a symbol of sexual desire and fertility. Lilith in Jewish tradition. The most well-known version of Lilith's story is found in the medieval Jewish text, the Alphabet of Ben Sirah, written in the 9th or 10th century. This account presents Lilith as Adam's first wife. According to the story, God created Lilith from the same earth as Adam. She believed they were equals and refused to be subservient to him. Lilith argued, "We are equal to each other, inasmuch as we are both created from the earth." When neither would yield, Lilith spoke the ineffable name of God and flew away. She fled to the Red Sea, where she mated with demons and gave birth to countless demon children. Adam, distraught, cried out to God, "Sovereign of the universe, the woman you gave me has fled." God sent 3 angels to retrieve her. They found her in the depths of the sea and commanded her to return. She refused. The angels threatened to drown her. "Leave me," she said. "I was created only to cause sickness to infants. If the infant is male, I have dominion over him for 8 days. If female, for 20. To appease the angels, Lilith swore, "Whenever I see you, your names, or your forms on an amulet, I will have no power over that infant." She also agreed that 100 of her children would die each day. Hence, Jewish tradition includes writing the angels' names on amulets to protect infants from Lilith's harm. Alone once again, Adam asked God for another partner. This time, Eve was created from Adam's rib, thus becoming the woman we know from the Genesis story. According to some versions of the myth, Lilith grew jealous of Adam and Eve's harmony. As revenge, she transformed into a serpent and returned to Eden, where she tempted Eve to eat the forbidden fruit, resulting in the expulsion of the pair from paradise. From then on, Lilith was feared in Jewish folklore as a symbol of seduction, witchcraft, and death. Lilith in other cultures and traditions. Although not directly mentioned in the Bible, some Christian writers refer to Lilith as a symbol of temptation and sin. In Islamic tradition, Lilith is sometimes associated with the jinn, supernatural beings. In art, she is often portrayed standing on lions, a symbol of her dominance over the wild, or with the tail of a serpent, similar to the Greek chimera. In Babylonian reliefs, she appears with the upper body of a woman, wings and bird-like feet, surrounded by owls, another nocturnal creature with which she is often associated. Lilith and feminism. In the 19th and 20th centuries, Lilith was reinterpreted by feminist writers and scholars as a symbol of female empowerment. She came to represent the struggle against patriarchy and the right of women to assert autonomy and independence. The meaning of her name. The exact origin of the name Lilith is uncertain. Some scholars believe it stems from the Sumerian word Lilitu, meaning a type of female demon. Others suggest an Akkadian origin, Lilu, meaning wind spirit or ghost. In Hebrew, Lil means night, making Lilith the creature of the night, a fitting name for a figure associated with mystery, power, and the shadows of the unknown. Symbolism and legacy. Lilith has long been connected to nocturnal creatures like owls and snakes. These animals, often seen as symbols of mystery, wisdom, and transformation, enhance her. As we know from the Bible, the serpent represents temptation and sin, often tied to sexuality and desire. Similarly, Lilith symbolizes the power of the feminine and the longing for autonomy and independence. By linking her with animals that are wild, untamed, and unbound by human conventions, her symbolic significance is magnified. She becomes a representation of the raw, primal aspects of the psyche, those often repressed, denied, or feared. But let's take a step back in time to ancient Sumer. Their creation myth, known as the Eridu Genesis, speaks of the Anunnaki, the pantheon of gods worshipped by the ancient Sumerians. These divine beings, often referred to as those who came from the sky, are central to esoteric versions of the Sumerian creation myth. According to these accounts, the Anunnaki came to Earth to mine gold, and in doing so, created humans to carry out the labor. The creation of humans was said to occur through genetic engineering. Enki, the god of water, wisdom, and creation, along with his counterpart and sister Ninhursag, or Ninhog, mixed their own DNA with that of a primitive hominid, Homo erectus, to create a man and a woman in their image. Initially, humans were not permitted to reproduce, as population control was a concern. However, after seeing how his creation was exploited as slaves by his brother Enlil, the chief god of the Sumerian pantheon, Enki chose to teach humans how to reproduce. According to the Terra Papers by Robert Morning Sky, there was once equality between male and female counterparts. Women were considered equal to men. But things changed. Marduk, the son of Enki, rebelled against the prime god, Enlil, and overthrew him. After seizing power, Marduk restructured the social order. The Terra Papers suggest that to solidify his authority, Marduk removed the feminine element from power and rewrote history in a way that favored male dominance. While Lilith and Adam had been equals, created from the same earth, the arrival of Eve marked a shift. Unlike Lilith, Eve was created from Adam's rib, and therefore, from the very start, was deemed subordinate. Doesn't this replacement seem a bit too convenient for a male-dominated worldview? What if we look beyond the literal interpretation of Lilith as a demon and instead viewed her as a symbol of the forgotten, ignored feminine force? Could it be that, over time, people have used the image of Lilith to demonize the shadow parts of themselves, the parts they cannot face and prefer to hide? In this way, Lilith becomes a mirror. She reflects the aspects of ourselves we often run from. In psychological terms, particularly in Jungian psychology, Lilith has been interpreted as an archetype of the dark feminine or the shadow side of the psyche. So, what is the psyche? The word psyche originally meant soul or spirit. In Carl Jung's analytical psychology, it represents the totality of a person's inner world: thoughts, behaviors, emotions, and unconscious drives. Jung described it as the totality of all psychic processes, conscious as well as unconscious. Jung saw Lilith as a powerful symbol of the unconscious, particularly the anima, the feminine aspect of the male psyche. He believed that the goal of psychotherapy was to bring unconscious material into conscious awareness, enabling self-understanding and fulfillment. As he famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This suggests that our hidden beliefs and patterns shape our lives, whether we realize it or not, and unless we confront them, we may misinterpret their effects as destiny. Lilith's story, then, can be seen as a symbol of individuation, the process of becoming a whole, authentic self. By refusing to submit, Lilith represents personal sovereignty and the power of the unconscious to challenge and transform the conscious mind. So why was Lilith seen as a threat? And what if she had stayed with Adam? If Lilith had remained, perhaps there would have been a more balanced relationship between men and women, between masculine and feminine principles. After all, nature thrives on equilibrium. When balance is lost, chaos follows. Could the Great Flood have been avoided? Could history have taken a different path? It's worth asking, how much of what we know as history has been manipulated? Have we truly been given an accurate account of the past? Or have powerful figures shaped narratives to suit their own interests? Consider the New Testament. Only 4 Gospels were included, while the Gnostic Gospels, which may have offered deeper spiritual insights, were cast aside and labeled heretical. Lilith's story serves as a cautionary tale, a warning about power, control, and the suppression of the feminine. It challenges us to think critically, to question dominant narratives, and to seek multiple perspectives. Throughout history, those who defy authority have often been erased or vilified, reinforcing rigid power structures. But Lilith's myth goes beyond history. It reaches into the depths of the human psyche. She represents the repressed, our instincts, emotions, desires, the untamed forces within us. When ignored, these energies can erupt as anger or rebellion. But if we embrace them, they can lead to self-awareness, healing, and transformation. Her connection to darkness and the unknown reminds us that life is more complex than we often admit. By accepting mystery instead of fearing it, we open ourselves to deeper understanding and new possibilities.